Hello and welcome to Ad Hoc Politics. My name is Asher, and I wanted to jump on here and talk about the news of the day, which is the ceasefire agreement that seems to have been agreed on by the United States and Iran. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. So obviously, this is great news. Ending of hostilities in any war is usually, great a great thing. There can be a stop to the killing and a stop to the destruction. So hopefully this can last. But let's get into the details and kind of see how we got here, because it's all very interesting. All right, so the actual war itself, how did it play out? Well, it played out exactly as we expected it would. The United States seemed to have thought that they could just deliver this intense body blow to Iran, kill Khomeini, and that the entire regime would just collapse like a house of cards. And obviously, this was just never realistic. So yeah, you killed Khomeini, but someone took his place. And if you kill that person, well, they'll have someone else to take his place. They have a whole council of Islamic jurists that can take leadership. So this was never a dictatorship. And I think that the United States seemed to have thought that it was, which would show just a shocking degree of naivete or just a shocking misunderstanding, a misreading of the situation. Um, so when that didn't work, there was really no plan. And pretty much what I was talking about in the last video, what's the plan here? There was no plan. Their plan was hoping that the regime would fall, but that's not something you can achieve by bombing stuff. Yeah, maybe it could work. Probably could work in some countries, but this is a government that's been in power for 50 years and there's 90 million people there. That was just idiotic to think that you could bomb these guys into the dust and that they would just go away after you blew up some shit. So just complete incompetence by the military planners or strategists in the Pentagon. Um, but so how did the actual war turn out? Well, it turned out pretty much exactly as we expected it would. Iran had very little defense. I mean, they shot down a few planes, but there was hundreds, if not thousands, of sorties. Um, they damaged an F-35. Um, not much to say on the defensive front. They got fucking bombed into the Stone Age. Not into the Stone Age. They got bombed really, really hard. But they were able to dish it back out. And, their ballistic missiles and really the strongest thing in their arsenal is the Shahed drone, which they invented and which has basically revolutionized warfare. And it's not that it's just this insurmountable weapon system that's just dominating, it's just that it's dirt fucking cheap. And like the amount of bang for your buck with it is just fantastic. So you don't need fucking $10 million cruise missile. You just have 10 Shaheeds. You can basically achieve a similar outcome hitting strategic targets in a long range setting with a dirt cheap weapon system. And the idea that, we're going to use these $1 million or tens of $1 million interceptor missiles to intercept these things, it's just the economics don't work because these things are dirt cheap and you're going to use all of your expensive interceptors, which would be much better used against those ballistic missiles that hit harder, trying to intercept these Shahed drones. And so their strategy was successful there. That, yeah, we're not going to be able to stop these strikes against us, but they're not going to be able to stop our strikes. And so I'd say it was kind of a draw as far as the actual strategic striking ability. I would guess that Iran took it a little bit worse, but nothing that they can't survive. But, was any of the strategic strikes decisive? No. I mean, if anyone's been paying attention to what's been happening in Ukraine for the past 4 years, you would know that strategic strikes, yeah, they have their place. They can help in a war, but they're not decisive. Not even at all. You kill a lot of people, blow up a lot of buildings, waste a lot of money, make a lot of money for some people. Does it change the outcome? Not really. I mean, maybe if you can keep that up for years at a time, like say what was happening in World War II, when you have entire fleets of bombers dropping bombs day and night. Okay, well, if you can keep up that kind of pressure, yeah, that can be decisive. But launching some cruise missiles and some Shaheeds, it's not really decisive. It hurts, it sucks, but what was decisive and shouldn't have been such a surprise was always the ace in their hand was them being able to blockade the Straits of Hormuz and basically isolate the Persian Gulf. So, again, this is not a surprise. This was their strongest card to play. And when they played it, it seemed to have completely blindsided these geniuses in the Pentagon. Oh, we thought that the regime would collapse before they could shut down the straits. If that's what you thought, then you should not have a job at the Pentagon because you're completely fucking incompetent. If that's what you thought, like dangerously incompetent. So yeah, they played their strongest card. It was stronger than anything that the Americans had in their hand, and they won the hand. They won, seem to have won the war. Now, there is a document that has been leaked detailing the details of the ceasefire. Now, this has been leaked from the Iranian side, so this is not official. Um, but if this is true, this is a stunning defeat for the United States. So I want to just pull it up and we can look at it real quick here. All right. So this I have this from Al Jazeera. Again, this is not official. This is a leaked document. Um, we'll see when the actual details become official what's going into all this. Excuse me. All right. So number one, a fundamental non-aggression commitment from the U.S. That good luck with that one, buddy. The U.S. is incapable of any long-term commitments at this point. Um, Even if you agree to something with one president and one administration, the next one can come in and just change it all. So I don't think this is even possible. Even if the United States wanted to do this, I don't think this is possible. So good luck with that one. Number two, controlled passage through the Straits of Hormuz in coordination with the Iranian armed forces, which in effect would mean that Iran retains its leverage over the waterway. Okay, so this basically means that the strongest card in their hand is going to stay in their hand, and that it's not going to be demilitarized. It's going to essentially be administered by Iran. And as we'll see later in this document, not only will it be administered, they're going to collect a customs, basically a tax on anything moving through the straits. So this is insane. If this is true, this is insane. Not only will they have so instead of just having the potential to shut down the straits, they're going to in effect control it and make money off of it. So if this is true, this is a stunning, stunning victory for Iran, and almost transforms them into a regional power. Even much more than they actually were. They always had the potential, but this would kind of put that potential onto paper and make them a very, very strong regional power economically with control of this waterway. All right, number three, an acceptance of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. All right, so acceptance in what way? Uh, Acceptance that they can just do whatever they want with it, or acceptance in that they can pursue this alleged civilian nuclear program, which everyone knows was just a load of crap. But if this is true, this is another massive, massive victory for Iran. This was really at the heart of the conflict, was that they were pursuing, an uranium enrichment, which could easily be used, turned into weapons grade material. So if that's true, stunning, stunning victory for Iran. It would open the way for them to become a nuclear power, and that would be a massive, massive victory. Anyway, number four, lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions and resolutions against Iran. So this would be massive. They have been under huge pressure for decades now, and their economy has really, really suffered because of it. And so this would be a massive diplomatic, political, and economic victory for Iran if the sanctions are lifted. Just Huge. Number five, an end of all resolutions against Iran at the UN nuclear watchdog. I'm assuming that refers to the IAEA. I'm not exactly sure what would go into that. So it's unclear really what this means, or I'm just not familiar with what resolutions have been levied against them. But I would guess that would kind of be like an approval of their nuclear program by the IAEA, and maybe there wouldn't be as demands for inspections or not exactly sure what the details are in that. End of all resolutions against Iran at the UN Security Council. Okay, so that's just a diplomatic victory. I'm not sure really how much the UN stuff matters in this day and age, but I guess it's nice. And this would be kind of like maybe trying to reinstate some law and order back into international politics through the UN, but I'm doubtful that that's ever going to happen. Number seven, withdrawal of all U.S. combat forces from all bases in the region. Uh, if that is true, then holy crap, this is not a defeat. This is a capitulation by the United States. So, number seven, I just can't believe that that would be true. That would throw all of these friendly regimes into chaos because um, all these Gulf monarchies and stuff, I'm not sure if they could survive without the U.S. providing security for them. So this would essentially be the withdrawal of the U.S. from the Middle East, which would create a power vacuum for Iran to fill. So I just can't see that happening. Um, or anyways, number eight, full compensations for damage suffered by Iran during the war to be secured through payments to Iran by ships passing through the straits. This is insane. So not only are they going to control the straits, they're going to essentially take restitution and the cost of the war, not from the United States, but from the ships passing through it. So this is insane if this is true. Just no, we're not going to pay for all the damages, but hey, you can basically tax all the global shipping and take a little cut, and we can call it even. So just crazy if that's actually true. Number nine, the release of all Iranian assets and properties frozen abroad. Not really sure how much assets they have frozen abroad, but obviously this would be nice to have your stuff back. I mean, this would be great if they could secure this. So this would be another nice win for Iran. And number 10, the ratification of these matters in a binding UN Security Council resolution. So try to lock this all in really kind of the only theater that's available that might make it long lasting, even though the United States doesn't give a crap about the UN Security Council, and other powers don't either. This is just kind of a remnant from a different time, holdover um, from post World War II era. So I guess it would be nice if you could get that, but it's not really going to matter in the long run. And the United States controls the UN Security Council because they have three permanent members, and there's only two others. So yeah, you get France, Great Britain, and United States, and then China and Russia. So interesting. But anyway, so if this document is true, this is a stunning fucking capitulation. If the United States agreed to this, this is insane. Now, what I'm guessing is more likely is that this is probably a starting point for negotiations. And, it's the old hard sell, we really only want a couple of these, but we can concede some of these demands if we can just get the couple that we really want. And obviously that's going to be sanctions relief. I think that's really the only realistic one in there. Maybe some of the diplomatic stuff, which doesn't actually matter. Maybe you could give them some of that, but there's no way the U.S. is going to withdraw from all those bases over this. There's just 0% chance of that happening. And this long-term commitment, you'd have to have something ratified through Congress, and just I don't see that happening. Have to be some kind of treaty that was ratified. Even then, you could get out of that pretty easily. But really, the key ones in there are maintaining control of Hormuz, which they're going to do regardless, and sanctions relief. and I guess the nuclear program. Um, so the rest of it, I think, is just kind of let's throw that in there and then we can concede. Now, based on this document, which again is leaked, it's not official, Iran's not making any concessions. No concessions on their nuclear program, no concessions on the ballistic missile program, uh, no concessions on supporting their proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthis and all the other ones. So it seems like they're not making any concessions. The concessions that they're going to make are conceding on some of these demands. That's how they're going to try to play this. So just fascinating. It's a very fascinating leaked document, and be really curious to see how this all plays out. Now, if I had to guess, I'm guessing this is not going to last. Both sides need like a little bit of time to fucking, reload basically before the next round starts. Now, I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope that there can be some kind of long-term agreement. Um, if I think now that that they've been in the ring and fought each other, felt each other out. If the United States did want to force the straits and take away that ace in the hold, how would you do that? You know, you have to figure out some solution to the Shaheed because that could be used to attack shipping really easily. So how are you going to do that? And you'd have to occupy the southern coast of Iran, and that's not going to be easy to do. You're going to need hundreds of thousands of troops to do that. You're going to need a place to invade from. You have to come through either Iraq or Afghanistan or an amphibious operation, which would be even more dangerous. That is just not an easy task. And then once you're there, what's the plan? Just occupy the straits, the southern part of Iran forever? The, you know, it would just lead to a massive ground war, and I don't think that they have the stomach for it, and they shouldn't. It's not worth it. It'd be much better to come to some sort of agreement. Um, if they agree to not pursue a nuclear weapon and have the IAEA just inspect everything, and if they really want this civilian nuclear weapons program, which is a bunch, I think is just complete nonsense. Then yeah, you can have the Russians can administer that for them. The United States could administer it for it. If they really don't want nuclear weapons and this is all about peaceful civilian use, well, then that can be accommodated. That can easily be accommodated. Um, and that would be a face-saving thing for them as well, saying, "Oh, we never wanted nuclear weapons, so we're actually getting what we want by having foreign specialists kind of build a civilian program for us under the IAEA's guidance." So maybe that is a path to a long-term resolution here, and in return, lifting of sanctions. I could see that working out for both sides. Now, that's probably not going to happen, if we're being honest. If I had to bet, I think the war will resume once both sides are reloaded, and will probably escalate even further. But we'll have to go. We'll have to wait and see. So, anyways, that's basically all I had. Let me know what you guys think about all this, and just interesting times. And okay, hopefully the ceasefire can work. Hopefully this will be the end of the war, and we can all just move on and try to get along and live better lives. But that's all I had for today, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.